You're a gold digger, Sophie, and the whole world will know it. Charles Hayes' words exploded like a bomb in the marine room, the shimmering chandeliers failing to mask the venom in his voice. I stood there, in the sapphire blue dress I'd saved a year's teacher salary to buy, feeling the floor collapse beneath me. The Pacific's waves crashed beyond the glass, but the room fell silent, every eye fixed on me. Diners whispered, phones raised to record. I turned to Ethan, my fiancé, who'd proposed on La Jolla Cove 2 weeks ago, the sunset ablaze. I waited for him to stand, to shout at his father that he was wrong, that I was the woman he loved. But Ethan just bowed his head, and then a laugh, a short, awkward laugh, sharp as a knife through my heart. That laugh was complicity, as if he too thought I was just a money chaser. My cheeks burned, my heart pounding. My trembling fingers slipped off the diamond ring, once sparkling like my dream of a home in Ocean Beach. When I set it on the table, the clink against the wine glass rang out, a declaration of the end. The restaurant held its breath. I walked out, my blue dress billowing, past prying eyes, past the sound of San Diego's waves. Paparazzi flashed cameras outside, and I knew the video was already online. Hatchad Gold Digger Sophie, spreading like wildfire. The sea breeze whipped through my hair, carrying salt and the bitter truth. The man I loved had betrayed me before the world. That night, I asked myself, how do you move on when the internet brands you a fraud? How do you hold on to your dignity when the one you love lets you be torn apart? This is the story of the night I lost love but found a strength I didn't know I had. Want to know what I did when the world turned against me? Stick around because I bet you won't guess what happened next. 2 weeks before that fateful night at the Marine Room, I was wrapped in a sweet dream. I can still feel it, etched in my memory. Ethan and I stood on La Jolla Cove, the fine sand sparkling under San Diego's sunset. The sea breeze carried salt and a sense that the world belonged to just us. Ethan held my hand, his eyes alight, then dropped to one knee. My heart stopped as he opened a velvet box, revealing a dazzling diamond ring, glinting like the waves offshore. Sophie Bennett, he said, voice trembling with emotion, will you be my wife? I didn't hesitate. Tears welled up. I nodded and leapt into his arms, shouting yes amid the crashing waves that seemed to cheer. In that moment, I thought I'd found forever. Ethan and I had been together 3 years, meeting by chance one afternoon at Better Buzz Coffee in Hillcrest. He bumped into me, spilling my latte on the book I was reading, and apologized by buying me another. From there, we were inseparable. He worked at his father's finance firm, but to me, he was just Ethan, the guy who told terrible jokes, ate cold tacos on Saturday mornings, and held my hand as we strolled Pacific Beach's boardwalk. I loved his warmth, how he talked about starting his own company, free from his father Charles Hayes's shadow. I was a high school English teacher at a public school in the Gaslamp Quarter. The pay wasn't great, but I loved my job. Those moments when a student's eyes lit up over a poem or when they debated a book with fire. When Ethan proposed, I started dreaming bigger. A small Ocean Beach apartment with a sea view porch, a garden for daisies, maybe someday our kids. I'd once turned down a New York scholarship to stay in San Diego for Ethan, believing this love was worth the sacrifice. The ring on my finger wasn't just jewelry. It was a promise of a shared future. For the engagement dinner, I wanted everything perfect. I knew the Hayes family wasn't like mine. My parents were working-class folks from Bakersfield, living simply. Ethan had warned me his father, Charles, was strict, and his mother, Eleanor, kept her distance. I'd met them a few times, always feeling Charles's gaze weighing me, Eleanor's smile hiding something. But I believed that if I tried, if I showed my love for Ethan, they'd embrace me. I spent hours preparing for the Marine Room. I bought a sapphire blue silk dress, saving a year's salary for it. I borrowed silver earrings from my best friend, styled my hair in soft waves, and stood before the mirror, telling myself, I'm enough. I love Ethan for who he is, not his money. When I walked into the restaurant, Ethan whispered I looked like La Jolla's sunset. I smiled, heart racing, thinking this would be the night we became a family. I had no idea that hours later, my dream would shatter and the world would turn against me. I sat at the engagement dinner in the Marine Room, golden light glinting off sparkling wine glasses. The Pacific's waves crashed beyond the windows, blending with gentle piano music, but my heart pounded like it might burst. My sapphire blue dress hugged my frame, borrowed silver earrings shimmered, and I forced a smile, hoping the Hayes family would see I was worthy of Ethan. The dinner started smoothly, warm toasts, champagne poured, and Ethan's hand holding mine under the table, his warm fingers a quiet reassurance. I thought maybe my worries about Charles's icy stare or Eleanor's faint smile were just in my head. Then, mid-main course, Charles Hayes set his knife down, the metal clinking sharply against the plate. He looked straight at me, eyes like steel blades, and said, his voice low but razor sharp, Sophie, now that you're engaged to my son, we need to discuss the prenup. The Hayes family has assets to protect. The table froze. The piano music seemed to fade, and I felt every eye in the restaurant turn to me. My cheeks burned, but I tried to keep my voice steady. I understand, sir, I said. I'm not opposed to a fair agreement. Eleanor smiled, thin as mist. Very practical, aren't you? She said, her tone dripping with false sweetness. You sure know how to seize an opportunity. I opened my mouth to respond, but Charles cut me off, his voice sharper. Don't play innocent, Sophie. A high school teacher worming into our family, you're a gold digger, and everyone in this room knows it. His words hit like a punch to the chest. I heard a wine glass shatter somewhere, a friend of Charles's, as if on cue, spilling it to amplify my humiliation. Phones went up, camera flashes sparked, and I knew someone was filming. I turned to Ethan, my heart begging him to stand, to tell his father he was wrong, that I wasn't what he claimed. But Ethan just bowed his head, lips pressed tight, and then a laugh. A brief, awkward laugh, jagged like broken glass. That laugh wasn't a defense. It was the final knife tearing through my dreams of an ocean beach home, a future with him. I couldn't breathe. The crowd's whispers grew, had Gold Digger Sophie probably already spreading online. Ethan, I whispered, voice trembling, but he didn't look up. Charles pressed on, his tone cold as stone. Don't be naive, Sophie. Girls like you don't love my son for his heart. I felt slapped before the world. My fingers shook as I slipped off the diamond ring. It sparkled, once Ethan's promise on La Jolla Cove, but now a heavy weight dragging me down. I set it on the table, the clink against the wine glass ringing out like a goodbye. The restaurant went silent, eyes like knives. I said nothing. I stood, my blue dress billowing, and walked out of the Marine Room, past flashing phones, past San Diego's waves. The salty breeze whipped through my hair, and though my heart was breaking, I knew I had to walk away to save myself. Charles Hayes's words echoed in my head like a death knell. You're a gold digger, and everyone in this room knows it. But Ethan's laugh, brief, awkward, choked me. I stood in the marine room, golden chandeliers casting a soft glow on wine glasses, the Pacific's waves crashing beyond the windows. The sapphire blue dress I'd saved a year's teacher salary for felt like a bitter joke. My borrowed silver earrings glinted, but they couldn't shield the burning humiliation consuming me. Every eye in the restaurant pierced me, diners whispering, phones raised, camera flashes sparking like they wanted to capture my collapse. I looked at Ethan, the man I'd dreamed of an ocean beach apartment with, sunset walks, a family. But he just bowed his head, hands clenched, offering no defense, no comforting glance. In that moment, I knew staying would mean forever being scorned, not just by the Hayes family, but by the man I loved. I couldn't let them reduce me to a money chaser, a worthless girl. My trembling fingers touched the diamond ring. It was beautiful, sparkling like the La Jolla Cove sunset when Ethan proposed, but now it weighed like a curse. I slipped it off, each movement deliberate, like tearing away a piece of my heart. When I set it on the table, the clink against the wineglass rang out, cold and final, a declaration of the end. The restaurant held its breath, as if time stood still. I stood, my blue dress billowing, feeling the world's judgment. I said nothing, no words needed to justify myself. I walked past the dinner table, past Eleanor's thin smile, past Ethan's downcast face. I moved through the filming diners, through paparazzi flashes already gathering outside. As I pushed the door open, San Diego's sea breeze rushed in, carrying salt and a painful freedom. I stepped onto La Jolla's shore, cool sand beneath my feet, the gas lamp quarter's lights twinkling in the distance. Paparazzi shouted my name, cameras flashing relentlessly, but I faced them, voice steady. I'm not what you think. I didn't run, didn't cry, just kept walking, head high, though each step felt like treading on the shards of my dream. That night, strolling along the beach, waves lapping steadily, I asked myself, how could I stay where I was made a mockery? How could I love someone who left me alone before the world? #gold digger. Sophie was likely spreading online, but I didn't care. I knew that by walking out of that restaurant, I'd chosen myself. Though my heart was shattered, I felt a faint spark of self-respect, of a strength I didn't know I had. I wasn't just leaving Ethan, I was rediscovering Sophie Bennett, the woman I'd forgotten amid promises of love. 3 days after I walked out of the marine room, I couldn't shake the clink of the ring hitting the wineglass. Charles Hayes's venomous words, Ethan's knife-sharp laugh, and the paparazzi's flashing cameras haunted me. I sat in my small gas lamp quarter apartment, surrounded by cardboard boxes, things I'd started packing because I couldn't afford rent without Ethan. This place once brimmed with memories, nights eating cold tacos on the couch, Ethan's dreams of his own company, our visions of an ocean beach home. Now, it was an empty shell, littered with the wreckage of a love I thought would last forever. A rapid knock jolted me from my thoughts. I knew it was Ethan before opening the door. He stood there, hair disheveled, eyes shadowed, clutching white daisies and the diamond ring I'd left behind. "Sophie, please let me talk," he said, voice hoarse like he hadn't slept either. I wanted to slam the door, to scream at him, but a part of me craved answers. I let him in but kept my distance, arms crossed like a wall. "Talk about what, Ethan?" I asked, colder than I expected. "Why you laughed when your father called me a gold digger, or why you stayed silent while the restaurant, the internet, turned me into a joke." Ethan set the flowers and ring on the table, shaking his head. My dad was out of line, Sophie. He'd been drinking, and I didn't know what to do. He threatened to cut my inheritance if I defied him. I didn't want to make a scene in front of everyone. My blood boiled. A scene? I echoed, voice trembling with rage. Ethan, your father humiliated me before the world. He called me a money chaser, and you, the man I loved, the man I gave up a New York scholarship for, you laughed. I didn't need you to fight your dad. I needed one word, just one, to say I wasn't what he claimed. He looked down, hands clasped tightly, but said nothing. That silence hurt more than his laugh that night. I love you, he finally said, voice faint. My dad doesn't know you, but I know you love me for me. I looked at him, truly looked, and saw a stranger. If you knew, I said, my voice breaking, why did you let him tear me apart? Why did you choose your inheritance over me? Ethan, it's not just your dad's words that hurt. It's that you left me alone. He stepped forward, reaching for me, but I backed away. We can fix this, he said, almost pleading. I'll talk to my dad, make things right. I shook my head, tears streaming down my cheeks. It's not about your dad, Ethan. It's you. The man I loved wouldn't have let me become #gold digger Sophie. I didn't see it until that night, but you're not him. I pointed to the ring on the table, glittering but cold. Take it, I said. I won't keep something that reminds me of losing myself. Ethan stood still, then slowly took the ring and flowers, walking out. As the door closed, I sank to the floor among the boxes, tears falling. But I knew. I'd chosen my self-respect, the first step to reclaiming Sophie Bennett. A week after I sent Ethan out of my gas lamp quarter apartment, I was still trying to stand firm in the storm. Each night I lay on the floor amid cardboard boxes, replaying the clink of the ring hitting the wine glass, Ethan's razor-sharp laugh, and Charles Hayes's venomous words at the Marine Room. #Gold digger Sophie raged online, with vicious comments branding me a money chaser, a fraud. I tried returning to my high school, where students still debated literature with fire and slipped me handwritten notes. Teaching was my sliver of peace, where I felt valued despite the world's judgment. But I didn't expect Charles Hayes, who'd made me a laughingstock before a crowd, to keep going. He wanted to destroy my life completely. That day, the principal summoned me to her office after class. She was a tough but trusting woman who'd always backed me. Her face held a mix of anger and worry. Sophie, she said, voice low, Charles Hayes emailed the school board. He accused you of professional misconduct and demanded your immediate firing. He threatened to pull his company's major funding if we don't act. The world seemed to collapse. The room spun and I gripped the chair to keep from falling. Charles, who'd called me a gold digger before all of San Diego, was now trying to steal the job I loved, the one thing keeping me upright. What did he say about me? I asked, voice trembling. The principal sighed, sliding a printed email across the desk. He claims you caused a scene at a family event, that you're too unstable to teach students. I read the email, each word a fresh wound, but what shocked me more was a local newspaper article attached to it. A journalist, clearly hired by Charles, had written a hit piece calling me a disgraced teacher and Ethan Hayes' exploiter. It cited the #Gold digger Sophie video, painting me as a villain before the city. Anger flared, hot as La Jolla's sand at noon. What are you going to do? I asked, forcing my voice steady. The principal's lips tightened, her eyes sharp. Sophie, I know you. I've seen you inspire kids. I told the board your personal life is none of Hayes' business. And if he wants to pull funding, let him. We don't sell out our teachers. I exhaled, tears brimming, but the relief lasted a moment. I knew Charles wouldn't stop. A man like him, with money and power, wouldn't let me go just because I walked out of that restaurant. Leaving the office, San Diego's sunset stained the sky red, but I couldn't see its beauty. I walked along Harbor Drive, the waves' rhythm echoing the night I left the marine room. I wondered, why did Charles hate me so much? Because I refused to be his puppet? Because I dared hold my head high? I stood by the shore, the salty breeze whipping through my hair, and vowed not to break. My job, my honor, weren't things he could buy or crush. But deep down, I knew this drama wasn't over. What would Charles do next? And Ethan, did he know his father was making me a public enemy? 8 days after reading Charles Hayes's vicious email, I still felt like I was walking through a minefield. Each morning, I opened my phone to cruel comments under #GoldDiggerSophie, mocking me as a money chaser. I tried focusing on my high school classroom where students still debated poetry with passion, but the fear of Charles' next strike lingered. Then one afternoon, as San Diego's sunset bathed Hillcrest in gold, I got a text from Eleanor Hayes. "Sophie, can we meet at Better Buzz Coffee? Just us." I was stunned. Eleanor, with her thin smile and distant eyes at the marine room, wanted to see me. I hesitated, but curiosity won. I needed to know her intent. I stepped into Better Buzz Coffee, the rich aroma of roasted beans mingling with soft jazz. Eleanor sat in a corner, not in her usual designer dress, but a simple gray sweater, hair loosely tied. She looked weary, like someone carrying a burden too long. As I sat, she met my eyes, no longer cold, but brimming with sincerity. "Sophie," she said, voice soft but clear, "I owe you an apology. What happened at the marine room was wrong. I was wrong to stay silent, to let Charles treat you that way." I sat still, heart pounding, barely believing my ears. This was the last thing I expected from Eleanor Hayes. She sipped her coffee, hands trembling slightly. "30 years ago, I was you, Sophie," she continued, her voice heavy with regret. "I was a stage actress in Los Angeles, in love with a Hayes man, but his family rejected me. They called me an opportunist, just as Charles did to you. I gave up the stage, my dreams, to become what they wanted. Charles once threatened divorce if I didn't quit acting. I thought that was the price of love." She paused, gazing out the window as Hillcrest's lights flickered on. "But when you walked out of that restaurant, head high, I felt jealous. You have a courage I never had." I didn't know what to say. Eleanor pulled a pearl necklace from her bag, aged but exquisite, glinting under the cafe's lights. "This was my grandmother's," she said, placing it in my hand. "Charles despised it, said it wasn't elegant enough for a Hayes wife. But to me, it's a symbol of the woman I once was. I want you to have it, Sophie, as a reminder. Don't let anyone crush your dreams." I tried to refuse, but she held my hand, eyes resolute. "This is solidarity between women who understand each other." We talked for over an hour, about the years she lost herself, how she saw Ethan becoming his father's shadow. As I left the cafe, Hillcrest's lights reflecting off the pearl necklace in my hand, I felt a mix of sorrow and strength. Eleanor had shown me a path I refused to take, but she also made me wonder, did Ethan know his mother had shared this secret? Would he ever break free from Charles's grip? I walked San Diego's streets, heart full of questions, but more determined than ever. 2 weeks after my conversation with Eleanor at Better Buzz Coffee, I stood in my new Ocean Beach apartment, breathing in the cool sea breeze from the wooden porch. The small space, with white walls and a view of the Pacific, was where I chose to start over. I couldn't stay in the old gas lamp quarter apartment, where every corner echoed Ethan, nights eating cold tacos, his dreams of breaking free from his father. I used my savings to rent this place, a terrifying but liberating step. Opening the porch door, San Diego's waves rolled in, carrying salt and the scent of daisies from a pot I'd just planted. For the first time in weeks, I felt alive, truly alive. Moving was a challenge. I packed everything myself: literature books, students' notes, the mirror I'd used to try on the blue dress for that engagement night. Each item stung, but also offered a chance to build a new Sophie, one not defined by Had, Gold Digger Sophie, or Ethan's silence. I hung Eleanor's pearl necklace in my bedroom, its shimmer catching the sunlight, echoing her words, "Don't let anyone crush your dreams." Every glance at it reaffirmed I was on the right path, deserving a life free from humiliation. Returning to school was my guiding light. My high school students, with their heartfelt essays and fiery debates, pulled me from the darkness. One day, a boy named Lucas slipped me a note. "Ms. Bennett, you're the best teacher. Don't let those internet people get you down." I clutched it, tears falling, but this time from joy. Teaching reminded me of my worth, needing no validation from Charles Hayes or anyone. I joined a women's support group in San Diego, where strangers became friends, listening to my story and sharing their own pain. Those meetings, over coffee and laughter, showed me I wasn't alone. San Diego, with its blazing sunsets and free-spirited vibe, became my companion. I strolled Pacific Beach's boardwalk, pausing to buy white daisies for my table, or sat at La Jolla Cove, letting the waves wash away painful memories. I still thought of Ethan, his laugh, the dreams we shared. But the pain was softer now, like gentle ripples instead of crashing waves. I began to feel enough, not because someone loved me, but because I was learning to love myself. Eleanor's pearl necklace gleamed each morning, a reminder of the woman I refused to become. But I wondered, was Ethan fighting to break free from his father, as Eleanor hinted? Would he ever find the courage she lacked? I had no answers, but the life I was building, with my daisy pot, students' essays, and ocean beach sunsets, was mine. And for the first time, I was proud of it. A month after moving to my Ocean Beach apartment, my life began to spark with new light. Each morning I stood on the wooden porch, watering my white daisies, watching the Pacific shimmer under San Diego's sun. School remained my joy, with students' heartfelt essays and the women's support group where I learned to forgive myself. Eleanor's pearl necklace hung in my room, glinting as a reminder I'd chosen right by walking out of the marine room. But I never expected Ethan, who I thought was gone forever, to return and upend everything. That day, I'd just finished teaching, packing up my books, when a student rushed in, eyes wide. "Ms. Bennett, someone's waiting at the school gate, and everyone's buzzing about a video online." I stepped outside, San Diego's sunset staining the sky red, and saw Ethan standing there, in a rumpled shirt holding a phone. He looked like he'd run a marathon, eyes fierce yet anxious. "Sophie," he said, voice hoarse, "I need you to see this before we talk." He handed me the phone and I froze, watching a video he'd posted on social media. In it, Ethan stared into the camera, debunking #GoldDiggerSophie, calling me the most incredible woman he'd ever known, and admitting he'd failed me at the marine room. The video had thousands of views, drowning out the hateful comments. I left my father's company, Ethan continued, voice steady. I started a consulting firm in Carlsbad, free of his money. This is the letter he sent when I walked away. He gave me an envelope containing a furious note from Charles Hayes, branding Ethan's choice a betrayal of family. I stared, heart racing. Why, Ethan? I asked, voice trembling. He sighed, eyes sincere. Because you were right, Sophie. I was wrong to laugh, to let my father humiliate you. I lived my life pleasing him, but the night you walked away, I knew I couldn't be that man anymore. I want to be the man you deserve, even if you don't forgive me. His words hit like waves, warm yet painful. I remembered our Pacific Beach boardwalk strolls, his laughter lifting me. But then I saw the paparazzi's flashes, the clink of the ring, the agony of standing alone. Ethan, I said, soft but firm, I'm proud you're changing. The video, your choice, it matters, but I need time. I need to know I can trust you, not just today, but when everything falls apart. He nodded, eyes sad but accepting. I'll wait, Sophie, he said, however long it takes. As Ethan left, I stood by the school gate, Charles's letter in hand, the sunset fading. His video echoed in my mind, words of defense I hadn't heard that night. I felt a churn of hope and doubt. Ethan was defying his family. But was it enough to heal the wounds? Could I open my heart, or was my journey about finding myself first? I looked to the sea, its gentle waves offering no answers. But for the first time, I felt I held the power to choose, and that made me stronger than ever. 6 weeks after Ethan stood at the school gate with his viral video, I found myself on La Jolla Cove, where it all began. San Diego's sea breeze swept through, carrying salt and memories of the night he proposed, the sunset ablaze, the diamond ring glinting like a vow. The sand was still soft beneath my feet, the waves steady, but I was no longer that Sophie, the girl who gave up a New York scholarship, dreaming of an ocean beach home with Ethan. I'd changed, and today I knew I had to meet him one last time to close this chapter. Not out of anger, but for peace. Ethan texted that morning, asking to meet at La Jolla Cove, our happiest place. I agreed, not for reconciliation, but to set us both free. When I arrived, he stood there, white shirt billowing in the wind, eyes sad but resolute. Thank you for coming, Sophie, he said, voice low. I need you to know something, whatever you choose. He handed me a creased envelope, and my heart raced as I recognized Charles Hayes' handwriting. I opened it, reading the brief lines. Sophie, I was wrong to insult you at the Marine Room. I apologize. Plain, unadorned, but unimaginable from the man who'd branded me Hag Gold Digger Sophie before San Diego. My father wrote it himself, Ethan said, gazing at the sea. After I left his company, he started reflecting. But I didn't do this for him. I did it for you. I clutched the letter, relief mingling with pain. In the distance, I glimpsed Charles near the rocks, watching us with a complex look. Not anger, but a silent acknowledgement. I turned to Ethan, knowing this letter, though significant, couldn't erase the past. Ethan, I said, voice soft but steady, I still love you, or at least the man I knew on Pacific Beach's boardwalk. But that night when you laughed, when you let your father humiliate me, I lost trust. I can't go back, not because I don't forgive, but because I need to love myself first. Ethan nodded, eyes glistening. I understand, Sophie, he said. You showed me who I need to be. Not my father's puppet, but someone who stands up. I'll always be grateful. He touched my shoulder lightly, a respectful farewell, then turned away. I watched his silhouette fade into the sunset, Charles still lingering in the distance, and felt a gentle sorrow, but also peace. I didn't cry. I stood there, letting the waves erase old wounds, the breeze carrying away what no longer belonged to me. The letter from Charles remained in my hand, but I didn't need it anymore. I'd won, not by forcing his apology, but by choosing myself. La Jolla Cove, where my dream began, was now where I let it go. I wondered if Ethan would hold on to his change, if he'd find happiness. But for the first time, that question didn't hurt. I walked on, cool sand beneath my feet, gas lamp quarters lights glowing in the distance, knowing my future was mine, built on self-respect and courage. I sit on the wooden porch of my small Ocean Beach apartment, San Diego's sunset casting a golden glow on the white daisies I've planted. The Pacific's waves lap gently in the distance, blending with the sea breeze carrying salt and a hint of dry grass from the nearby path. Eleanor's pearl necklace rests in a box on my shelf, glinting each morning as sunlight streams through the window. I don't need to keep it close anymore, not because I've forgotten her words, but because I've become my own reminder. I deserve to live true to myself, needing no approval from the Hayes family or a world that once branded me Hat Gold Digger Sophie. Looking back, that night at the Marine Room feels both like yesterday and a lifetime ago. The clink of the ring against the wine glass, Charles Hayes's scornful glare, Ethan's piercing laugh, they were deep cuts into my heart. But those scars are now proof of a strength I didn't know I had. I walked out of that restaurant, head high, not just to leave Ethan, but to rediscover Sophie Bennett, the woman I'd lost amid dreams of love and validation. That journey was steeped in tears. Some nights I lay on the floor of my gas lamp quarter apartment, surrounded by cardboard boxes, crying until I was spent, wondering if I'd been wrong to let Ethan go, if I could survive without him. But each morning I rose, watered my flowers, taught my classes, and took small steps to build a life of my own. San Diego, with its radiant sunsets and free-spirited rhythm, taught me happiness isn't a destination. I stroll Pacific Beach's boardwalk, buying white daisies for my table, sit at La Jolla Cove listening to the waves, and find joy in simple moments. Teaching with my students' heartfelt essays reminds me of my worth, needing no one's stamp of approval. My talk with Eleanor, Charles's letter, the farewell with Ethan on the beach, they're pieces that showed me happiness isn't being loved by someone else, but choosing to love myself. Recently, I wrote a blog about my story, from that night at the Marine Room to finding my light. I never expected it to go viral, drawing thousands of comments from people who'd been judged, who'd stood up for their dignity. Those messages, like my students' handwritten notes, remind me I'm not alone. I don't know how Ethan is now, whether he's held on to his change or found peace, but I no longer need those answers. Sometimes, walking away is the hardest but most necessary step to find yourself. Sitting here with Ocean Beach's sunset stretching before me, I feel enough. Not because I have everything, but because I have myself, and that's the most precious thing. I'm sitting on the wooden porch of my Ocean Beach apartment, San Diego's sunset gilding my white daisy pots, the Pacific's waves whispering softly. The flowers I've nurtured still bloom, proof of the days I learned to care for myself through the storms. My journey from that fateful night at the Marine Room to rediscovering myself isn't a fairy tale with a perfect ending, but it's my story, raw with pain, courage, and lessons I want to share with you, because I believe they can guide you on your own path. Lesson 1: don't let anyone define your worth. When Charles Hayes branded me a gold digger before all of San Diego, when hashtag Gold Digger Sophie spread across the internet, I nearly believed I was unworthy. But I realized my value isn't in their words, it's in how I walked out of that restaurant head high. You're the same. No matter who says you're not enough, not valuable, know you are enough, even if they can't see it. Don't let your light be snuffed out by cruel judgments. Lesson 2: loving yourself is the hardest, but most vital choice. When I parted with Ethan on La Jolla Cove, my heart still ached, but I knew staying would mean losing myself. Sometimes you must let go of those you love, not because you can't forgive, but because you deserve a life where you don't bow. Choose yourself, even if the path feels lonely. Only by loving yourself can you love others fully. Lesson 3: happiness comes from the choices you dare to make. I once thought happiness was an ocean beach apartment with Ethan, a diamond ring, but I found it in simple things: watering my daisies each morning, teaching students to write heartfelt essays, strolling Pacific Beach's boardwalk with white daisies in hand. Happiness isn't something you wait for. It's the moments you create by living true to yourself. Dare to choose what makes you feel alive, no matter how small. San Diego, with Gaslamp Quarter's lights and La Jolla's waves, taught me everyone has a story. I've shared mine, from the clink of that ring, through nights crying amid packing boxes, to this sunset on my porch. Now, I want to hear yours. Have you ever stood up for your dignity, walked away to find yourself? I invite you to join the hashtag Choose Yourself Challenge. Share your story in the comments or on social media. Those stories, big or small, are proof you're stronger than you think. I stand, breathing in San Diego's sea breeze, tasting salt and freedom. The future isn't clear, but I know I'll never stop choosing myself. I hope you do too. Take a step, even a small one, toward your light. I bet you'll find it right where you least expect.